You know, a lot of times they say, well, they don't like Trump, but they love his policy. No, I think they like me too.
The time for excuses is over. I don't want to see, like, we need a mulligan after 2024. We need to get the job done. I can tell you this, I will get the job done.
Former President Trump and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis talking about polls and what's at stake in the 2024 election, both at events here in Washington, D.C. We are back now with our panel. All right, I want to start with some more polling because we asked people, does the word corrupt describe President Biden or Trump? Country seems pretty evenly divided on the issue of Biden, but Trump actually he has a 14-point plus in favor of sounding corrupt. Bob, how does that play for him on the campaign trail? Is it already baked in for a lot of folks?
I think it's totally baked in. And, you know, 2 out of 3 people want another choice. I think there will be a choice. That doesn't mean that choice is going to win. But a lot of people that I talk to are just begging. They don't want a repeat of this. But both Biden and Trump have solidified their position in the party, and that's why they're going to, I think, both be the nominees. Well,
yes, we do hear the polls of people say they don't want this, and then overwhelmingly, these are the 2 people leading their fields. So we also asked the question of who has the mental soundness to serve. Joe Biden, Carl has referenced this, only 36% of people think that he's got what it takes. 61% say no. And Olivia, you mentioned this too. When you look at the trend, President Trump has been trending upward. People feeling he's more mentally sound to serve.
Yes, and so, I mean, that's sort of an interesting contrast when you look at the 2 presidents. And the corruption numbers, they're worse for Donald Trump. The mental soundness numbers, they're better for Donald Trump. And this is a debate we're going to be seeing. Some of the just breaking down the Republican numbers for Trump's legal woes is interesting, too, because they seem divided. Some think it's going to help, some think it will hurt, and some think it won't make a difference at all. One of my colleagues wrote a story recently, and he said that I think about 38% of the Trump supporters say that they won't change their minds. So that's a pretty strongly baked in supporter, no matter what happens with these legal cases.
Yeah, and with these legal cases, by the way, there has been a request filed by the special counsel with the judge who's overseeing one of the federal cases here, asking for a bit of a gag order about what President Trump can say. And, you know, this is what he talks about on the campaign trail all the time. He knows it's working for him. Fox News reports this. If approved by Judge Tanya Chutkan, who I believe the president's also trying to get removed from the case, the, quote, well-defined restriction would prohibit Trump from making statements regarding the identity, testimony, or credibility of prospective witnesses. Carl, his team has said this is election interference. It interferes with his First Amendment rights. But this judge is pretty no-nonsense, and we'll see what she does with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, this is going to be one of the continuing sagas of this campaign as he attempts to run while he is facing 4 legal actions. And already the camp is saying that he is not saying things or appearing at things because giving interviews because they don't want to put him in potential jeopardy of saying something that causes a problem for him in one of these legal cases. I'm with Bob, partly. People don't want this Biden versus Trump. If I were a betting man, and I'm not a betting man, I'd have to bet on Biden and Trump being the nominees, but I'd take the field against him. The party that figures out that a new face ought to be its nominee is the party that is going to have the upper hand in the 2024 election. Right now, we're aiming towards a race between 2 people who people distrust or dislike, and that's never a good recipe.
Well, and Kevin, No Labels is still sniffing around about a third-party run, thinking that if these 2 are gridlocked and then polls say that people aren't thrilled about either choice, they want to offer another option. I know Democrats feel like that's going to work against them if that happens.
Oh, it absolutely will. And you just have to look at the history of third-party bids in this country. But, you know, to Bob's point, and it's an interesting one, listen, you know, Democrats are solidly united behind Joe Biden. You know, he's at 76%, I think, in terms of the primary voting universe. According to Morning Consult, Donald Trump's numbers are still up as well. So I think we're looking at these national polls through kind of partisan bifocals here. So those numbers in terms of why Donald Trump is down nationwide are because Democrats and independents are a part of that poll, and vice versa with Joe Biden. So while they've got, you know, serious support from their party base, it is true to Bob's point that, you know, we don't want to see a rematch of 2020.
Well, with that in mind, who thinks we possibly get a third party ticket. I mean, No Labels is doing the work in the states to get on the ballots.
They'll be on the ballot. They've got an excellent plan to do so. But I'm with Kevin. Third parties typically don't have any impact in winning an election, but they have an impact on deciding who loses the election. Think about it. We had a big personality in Ross Perot, got 19% of the vote.
That's a big
Nothing in the electoral college.
Zero electoral college.
Zero. In fact, the last two candidates to get votes in the electoral college were 1968 George Wallace and Strom Thurmond 1948. Both of them explicit racists running for to oppose desegregation in the South.
And they were spoilers in both races.
Who thinks it helps the Republicans?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
100%.
Republicans, yeah.
It's a shadow operation on behalf of Republicans, No Labels.
Oh, all right. Well, they say they're not, but we've talked to them about that, and they're always welcome to come back on the show. Panel, thank you very much. We'll see you next Sunday. Up